How's everyone? Let's get down to it. Expectation patterns. Kind of noticing certain origin points. It's not the same for everyone, but just right now it's fine tuning. Getting down to it from, let's say, my personal experience, but kind of being able to notice patterns in general to then just wipe them out and not necessarily be caught with that. While also noticing various range where that same pattern on one end could apply to various other things. So the expectation pattern is this kind of idea that one should be or should have XYZ at one point. One should be acting XYZ way. That idea, whenever you have the mind formulate that idea, this is a trap. Because, again, I keep repeating this, but it's with repetition that you start to understand these patterns versus the repetition of the actual pattern. You don't know what you don't know at any point in time. It is absolute. You can't go back in time aside from your visualization aspect, but that's a whole different scenario that has nothing really to do with the mind in this current case. But there's no should have been, should, or whatever. It is an impossibility that is kind of casualized through language or certain behaviors as well. Like, you can't expect people to know your exact granularity of knowledge and experience and preferences, because then you project onto others, and receiving the same thing is not something you'd like, especially if the granularity of knowledge is in a whole different area because of different areas of focus. This kind of, I put a lot of emphasis on that because you begin to notice the subtle aspect of that idea of expectation creeping into other things. Like, let's say if you watch a YouTube video and you're noticing that the knowledge is not necessarily complete compared to other things that are out there, yet, and your mind kind of goes, okay, well, should have said this, should have. Boom, right then and there, it's the same trap. It's kind of like, because it's a video, the mind kind of goes, okay, well, should have done XYZ, but it's the same kind of trap. Now, to understand, or I guess to bring this to a peak reason why you kind of want to understand this, is when the mind does it to an exterior source, it'll do it to the interior as well. So if you notice that sometimes it's like, oh, I should have done that, or because, or I should have thought about this, or I should have been like that, and you start insulting, the mind kind of start insulting itself based on its own perimeter, because all those should haves are perimeters from the hard drive. Learn from the environment or the background or whatever situation you're in. Could even be TV shows, or it could even be media. The whole should have is always linked to the mind, and it uses its own value to say, okay, well, you're doing well, you're not doing well. Whenever it goes should have, then it goes, you should have done better than this current level, which you needed to bring out to see the next level. So you start understanding how that little trap becomes a bit of a hindrance because it's not logical. Whenever you do something, like example as art, you do a drawing or a sketch, and you start, the mind starts listing off things it should have done, but it's bullshit. It doesn't work. The sketch needed to happen to see the next level, to start that little game again, to spot the next level. And it's like that, but for everything in life, not just your craft. And cool trick is to use your craft, use your understanding of your craft to that level, to then translate it to your life. So understanding how some of these principles apply to your craft, and then easily apply to your life, because it's still dealing with the same mind, but with the craft, your focus and orientation is always on what would feel better in your craft. So again, like I kept saying prior, you're able to take that, translate that to life, and be able to spot that little, again, it's something that's been, here's a theory on this, and I guess again from personal experience, it feels like it's something from early parenting, and again not knowing what we didn't know as a general society at the time. Because when I look back at the aspect of parenting, especially when it comes to pointing at the kids something that was done quote unquote wrong, always done from one person's projection onto another, and at the same time not necessarily understanding the process of expansion, of evolution, depending on the way it's phrased, the way it's brought out. So it's the yelling, if it's the shouting, if it's a quick reaction towards something that is done, then as a kid, remember, subconscious mind is not, how do I say, full to cross-reference various reaction or how to various informations as well. So early on, 0 to 8, remember, it just piles up information, piles up information. So when you're continuously, how do I say, I want to find a better word than indoctrination because it just doesn't really sound right. It sounds intentional, but what happened was not intentional. It is the number one thing to fully acknowledge and realize, because it's like, again, it goes back to the conscious choice. Do you know that conscious choice 10 steps ahead? More often than not, way more often than not, you don't fucking know, because you don't know what you don't know. It's you can't pre-pave that, especially at that point of consciousness where they didn't have all that information. So again, you're kind of indoctrinating this kid to react to your reaction based on seeing that they were doing something quote unquote wrong. But that's completely forgetting the evolution process of, you're going to try something, you're going to get a certain amount or level of experience for dexterity, for accuracy, for understanding situation as a kid. And then you're going to get better at it by trying it again. Oftentimes these trial and errors are just happen. It just happens. So you may just break a glass or break a plate or fall down or something. But it just happens. It's the natural evolution process. And here's the thing. If you continuously get that indoctrination of belittling or shouting at that, then naturally, subconsciously, the brain will not be prone to going through that process of trial. It'll want to get things down accurately and 100% sure, which is an impossibility, because there's always going to be variation factors to everything. At the end of the day, it's when you have upon anything, when you have your focus on what's pleasant and everything that you've learned, your momentum is much higher. Yet getting that indoctrination process doesn't lead you to that. It kind of leads you to be aware of the exterior opinion on various things, which, again, like said, the granularity of our experience will never necessarily be understood by anyone but us. So to have that reliance, of course, by the subconscious, because don't ask it. It doesn't necessarily, the subconscious, as said, doesn't necessarily need to make sense on its own. It doesn't work like the logical mind. It'll intake information and even, take that shit subconsciously and just run it. So you understand that, you just jump on to noticing these patterns in various other aspects of your life and noticing how that may impact other people as well, which gives you another understanding of the brain and the mind, which gives you another level to just let go whenever certain things happen. Because, man, the subconscious is a bitch. It ain't. It's part of the all, but it's just noticing the in-depth intricacy of such a thing and how it, in a sense, legitly kind of controls your life if you let it run wild. Then you kind of just you get to be a bit more diligent over these things. You start looking at these with a fine comb, but not an anal fine comb. An anal comb. No, not in this aspect of, okay, I need to get this like beat per beat accurate 100%. No, you just notice this. You'll naturally notice this as you go on and tackle on the things that you love. When your focus is not split all over the place with distraction, you'll notice these things. You'll kind of wonder, okay, why am I thinking like this? Why is this like a momentum? Or even better, in that moment where you're in that mode of fun, again, that little trick to just crash through whatever blockers you have. You stay in that mode of fun, you keep focusing on what's really fun. Then naturally, when a counter intuitive thought comes in, you're going to feel it because you're already on this high momentum. So once this counterintuitive subconscious thought kind of comes in, you'll notice it. You'll be able to snatch it and just put it up front and kind of go, okay, why? When did that begin? Why is this a normal habit? Did I consciously chose it? No. So I can just let it go. I understand it came from XYZ person or environment. So I can let them go, understanding that they've learned it the very same way. So you just let go. And you have a much easier time with the clearing process. Then if you were to build a list of certain things that you wanted to clear and tackle them on one after another, which is it is a method, and sometimes you'll find a domino effect of things that you're going to clear one after another. Yet that's where you start tapping a bit more into understanding energy work, and it's just like mood in a way. With a high mood with a high mood, your focus is on high mood. So you might as well just go at it with a high energy and get that clearing a tad bit faster in a way and easier compared to just going on, okay, I got to battle through all this list of, let's say, habits and momentums that were unchecked. Let's go tackle this on. And, you're seeing you're doing this a bit more by force instead of just using kind of like natural powers in a way, or just natural momentum of energy in a way instead of fighting. You know what I mean? There's two different components of energy in a way, or moods, if it's easier for you. 2020, it's all blending in, so you're going to get that whole aspect of energy. But understanding your mood and your focus, you can kind of understand the parallels and how it works. So from a higher mood, and especially with a higher focus, you can see how it's easier to just lean into some of these things and just clear them out with ease, okay? And no longer necessarily being stuck noticing those habits or getting mad at yourself for having them. You just kind of chill out and understand, oh, okay, right, not necessarily chosen. Okay, cool. And you hack on that boss fight little by little. Kind of like, you do it a bit like Monster Hunter. It's going to pop up when it pops up, but it's going to have less impact on you when it pops up another time after having like these mini little clearings. But the expectation habit of it, or the expectation habit, let's call this a habit or a virus. That is, from what I can feel, is another big key to just being more chill with each other on that end, because you understand that momentum, you understand you didn't necessarily choose it, and you understand how that habit doesn't make sense. So at that point, you're just going to take it and just say, fuck it. You're no longer going to have expectations on yourself and anyone else, because it's a self fucking over loop. It's a self fucking over loop, because the principal base of it is just obvious. It's just that we haven't really taken the time to lay down the obvious. Oftentimes, again, media does not help. It's in lag time. It is slow compared to our habits and where we're at in this understanding, as well as understanding of the all and understanding how not to fuck ourselves over. So you'll notice that in media. You'll notice it's quick judgment and expectation. This person should have XYZ without batting an eye at understanding how it does not work. Because as soon as you say should have, where's your time machine? Because apparently you could have stopped that. Or you could have changed this, Back to the Future. But everything happens at the point in time that it does, along with the knowledge that led this thing to happen at this very point in time, on all sides. So don't get caught into this fallacy aspect of saying, oh, should have, could have, or you should be XYZ. Everything happens at the point in time. A person that doesn't necessarily have the should have that, let's say, one would imagine, is, true to granularity of their experience, living what they're living, rightfully living at the current point in time. Again, you understand how that granularity is formed, and you just let go. You kind of just all right, different parenting, different environment, different life experience, so I don't expect you of anything. Even, and that's one little tricky thing that you'll see the mind do, and you'll notice a lot of people who are stuck in the momentum will push on to other. It's like, even if there comes this aspect of, oh, well, a lot of people know that, so you should. Still stuck in the trap, because that'll just hit you back in that same way. And then you understand, oh, right, because a lot of people know it, it doesn't really mean that I should know it, because of different areas of focus, as well as different granular factors. You easily just start to get into this momentum of letting it go. And it's one big thing, because, again, if a majority of people understood this, or a much bigger majority of people would understand this, then interfamily drama gone. Any kind of interpersonal conflict gone. The manipulative or abusive parent relationship complex gone. Just gone, because it's like, oh, okay, shit, wow, I couldn't expect that from you, so I'm not gonna shit on you for something that just didn't make sense. I can't expect you to know it all. It's getting back to this stable understanding. It does help the one within as well, because it's like, I'm not repeating this cycle on myself as well. And ultimately, science, whatever gripes come from the mind, the hard drive, the projector, I am not hurt by my own gripes, And terminology, right? Because it's not necessarily you, but it is. It's the mind. You separate yourself from the mind, and you kind of understand, right, didn't really choose it, so why would I want to get hurt by this very own set of values that I didn't necessarily choose, So, yeah, that's a bit to just break down a bit of that complexity. Kind of trying to see if there's more examples. Expectation out of a video, expectation out of a politician or anyone. It's not falling for the counter expectation as well, where it's like, oh, I see this person reacting, so I'm going to put an expectation that they should have been reacting. No, you're just falling in the trap. The counter reaction is part of the trap as well. And again, knowing the difference between reacting and responding. Responding is you're much more grounded and you kind of understand all of this. Reaction is just out of nowhere, ones and zeros value causing you to, and that's lack of control. So, no, there's nothing much to kind of push into development even more about this. It's basically, when you understand, kill off this aspect of expectation. Yet, oh man, and that's an interesting little balance. Kill off expectation, yet stay hopeful. And let's jump into the nuances of that word. And a couple of granularities when it comes to that. Because, or even better said, you take away expectation from the person, yet you always you don't stick to expectations over people, including yourself, in that aspect of things. Yet you always keep a much more favorable view, mood, opinion, understanding, perception of XYZ is there, or of the person, of yourself. And the difference with this is basically, you're not necessarily running off the ones and zeros of the default ones and zeros that you've got, but you're much more focusing your momentum, like manually, and understanding the flow state process. You're leading yourself toward much better results, much more favorable results, without needing them. It's that tricky thing between, you see it but you don't need it. It would be nice, but you don't need it. because going into need, again, ones and zeros of the brain, and then you're stuck back into that loop. While on the other hand, you're kind of seeing it in advance. By doing so, you're prepping your mood. You're getting it much more as a thing that's common, as something that's in the environment, that's in the background, as something that you've experienced prior. Again, using your brain on that one. And the visualization aspect. And while you do that, you're anchoring the brain with a new pattern. So it's tricky because if you kind of jump off from this soft aspect of expectation, which would be a good terminology for it, or maybe not, because it's expectation of, it's hard, solid expectation versus soft expectations, which could be a better way to phrase it, you know? It's like, it'd be great for this person to act this way or to be this way, but I don't need this person to act or be this way because I understand what would lead this person to be in the current way. So you see, it doesn't bring a need. It's kind of, it'd be nice, and you know, I keep my brain, my mood, my state prepped for that. You know, just yeah, okay, because it's fun, because it's great, because you get much more of a momentum in whatever you do. So it's like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then you'll encounter the type of scenarios like that. It'll become much more natural to encounter that kind of scenario because you're not running this pattern that you didn't choose. You've been prepping something differently instead of having your mind and your imagination, which could be hijacked by whatever, you know, as previously spoken, run off patterns of repetitions of shit that you don't necessarily like, that you don't necessarily feel well, and that would, you know, bouncing off mirror-wise, would really work out in your favor. That's a bit of the difference. That's, again, once you're kind of able to process this within your own experiences, it just makes a lot more sense. And you're able to just play with this understandings as well as your mind in that aspect when you want, when you desire, when you know, and again, it's all done in a Unitarian aspect because, again, it's not moral high ground. It's just not fucking yourself over. And naturally, that doesn't fuck anyone else over with ripples in time or elastic aspect of, you know, ripples of repercussions of actions or just the elastic band effect of whatever situation, you know? So play with this. And it's one of those aspects that, you know, again, as said, if we were a larger majority understanding this, we wouldn't put expectations or just casually say, oh, this person should have XYZ. You know, the whole gossip thing would be gone. That mind crass would be gone. Because, again, I've just said, relooped. And all the things that link to gossip, you know, the little drama follow-ups that are linked to that would be gone as well. Or dramatically reduced. All this from kind of like a little simple trick, you know. You're not necessarily supposed to fit in anyone's expectation. Granularity of it already tells you, you know. It's kind of like you're supposed to know my favorite pizza. Of course not. The granularity of experience and moment and changes that happen throughout the years are unknown to you. So you can't know. I can't expect you to know my favorite pizza. Demand it from you. It's like, no. Fuck no. You see how that doesn't make sense? Bring it up to parenting, you know? It's like, oh my god, how dare you do this? Why are you doing this? It's like, well, kid doesn't fucking know. And it's coming to that point of understanding, you know? Hell, you even save yourself the doubling down on the expectation, as the kid is going to expect you to know your shit, which, understanding the percentage of things that can happen in this life, shit will happen. You're not supposed to know, but that indirect enforcement just brought it right back out, brought it right back onto oneself. It's kind of like being in a group of people that have this very same habit of gossip and putting expectations of others. You'll see they'll put that right on themselves and their group. So you wipe that out and it's like, oh, fuck yeah. It's just clearer. You understand this useless thing that was there is just gone, cleaned. And it's no longer causing your own issues because it's gone. You've just placed it in front of you and just kind of went, okay, went into multiple explanations of it, but you can kind of get a beat on how easy and simple it can kind of be to wipe it out, or easy and simple you can get wrapped into it, but also to wipe it out. And the numerous little advantages that you'll start feeling. Hell, you can just, again, use the master key question. How would it feel if I understood this in advance? How would it feel if I practiced this in advance? Or how would I feel if I already practiced this for, let's say, a day or so? And you'll get your answer, and then booyah. Oh, wow, shit. Yeah, this feels the difference. You'll see it in various other situations in your life, and you're like, okay, clear, clear, clear. Clean it up. You've got control. Just play with this and have fun. Have fun. Because it's all about that. You've got control of focus. It's just about having fun. And you're the only one that knows how that fun is, to which level, to which degree. You've got the granularity of that fun. Just focus on it. You're the only one who will fucking know. Stay awesome, guys, and some more bits are going to come up.